Hi Capricorn, welcome to your February 2018 love reading for singles called Single and Ready to Mingle. So this is kind of a different focus than I normally do. Normally my love readings tend to involve people in relationships. So this is a series specifically dedicated to you single people out there. I'm using the Wild Unknown Tarot, and somebody's drag racing out there, so whatever. Okay, so I'll explain to you the positions of the cards once I have laid them out. I've been enjoying this deck. You know, the different illustrations has been fun. Wow, that doesn't get much better than that for the outcome, so we already know, spoiler alert, and it's going to be great. Okay, so these readings, by the way, are not just like trying to be predictive, but also trying to explore your own actions and attitudes in love, and how do they play into the outcome of what happens. Because as I have observed in other readings that I've done for this series, it's one thing to attract somebody to you. Some people think that their biggest challenge is even getting anyone to go out with them or, you know, have a relationship with them, but that really isn't necessarily the biggest challenge. It could be keeping a relationship. You know, if you have these if you have this tendency to be needy, for instance, that can push somebody away, that can turn somebody off. Because not just because it makes them feel smothered, but also because it makes you look like you don't have a sense of your own self, that you have to live through somebody else, and you know that you define yourself through your relationship. And so the more confident you can present yourself as, and the more independent, I think the better. Obviously, some people go the opposite direction, and I think Capricorns sometimes go the opposite direction, where they act like they're totally self-contained, they don't need anyone, they're successful, they're, you know, confident, but really, Capricorns can be quite sensitive. I really believe that deep down inside, and wanting what everybody else wants, but perhaps having this hard exterior that is very that acts very self-sufficient. So there are two extremes, I guess you could say. And this is the first card in the middle is like the central challenge to finding that special person in your life. And this is connected to the Fool card. And you see in this deck that they're showing like, I don't know if that's supposed to be like an ugly duckling, but definitely a chick. So it's showing that beginning, the zero, the unknown quantity. What is this chick going to grow up to become? Now, in the tarot, the Fool card connects to the unknown, and it's like, to me, I see it as a blank slate, like you writing your own future. As a challenge card, in terms of forming relationships, I'm reading it almost like a reversed Fool card, where you're too cautious. You're bringing the past into your relationships, and it is burdening you. and keeping you from having that sense of adventure and that blank slate where you see the person as their own person, not as some kind of a symbol of what you've dealt with. Like, oh, this person, this is a man, so this is like my father, or this is a woman, this is like my mother. And that you really don't have a lot of emotional baggage. I think that's the best way I would look at it. So let's look at the history and what may have led up to this. If I can pick up this card. Okay, well this is we can say this is the past. The Eight of Pentacles is a card that deals with somebody who is very committed to their craft. So this is a workman's card. Anytime you get Pentacles, you can be dealing with work, money. This can be a good card for money, actually. And so certainly with Capricorn, we're talking about Pentacles, you know, the earth signs. And the other earth signs are Virgo and Taurus. And all of the earth signs are connected to working hard, being materially, you know, having material success, having material comforts. And how that plays into your love life, well, some people are channeling a lot of their energy into that, and especially Capricorn of all the signs, because you rule the 10th house of career. So you are people sometimes who are married to your careers, and of course that makes it hard to be in a relationship. Now with the Fool card, connecting those two cards, one thing I can say too is that in the past you may have tried too hard, worked too hard on relationships, because of, you know, feeling like, oh my God, I have to make this work. And that actually can work against you, because it can lead to imbalanced relationships where you're giving more than you're getting. And I am not one of those people that believe that everything has to be 50-50 and you have to keep books and this person did this for me and I did this. But I'm talking about really grossly imbalanced relationships. And even though Capricorns tend to be very pragmatic, I think in relationships it's very possible. I could imagine a Capricorn person possibly being in a relationship and giving so much of themselves that there isn't that sense of the relationship being on equal footing. So it's also just that energy of like trying too hard too, that I think can lead to a lot of resistance, and that kind of creates energy blockages too. Now, how do you heal? And it's funny because how is this? Boy, some of these depictions are quite enigmatic. Wouldn't you say this is like a cocoon? Because it looks like it's going to turn into a butterfly, but we have the Eight of Swords. How do you heal? Well, the Eight of Swords connects to oppressive thoughts that hold you back. And obviously, as a way to heal, you would have to eradicate that from your consciousness. How does Capricorn do this? Well, one thing, it's a process called self-inquiry. And this is where you ask yourself questions about your assumptions. So if you have a tendency to say to yourself, I can't find love in my life. And people do make these blanket statements. Then say, is that true? This is a technique that Byron Katie developed called the work, and she has more than that one question, but sometimes that's enough, where you question your assumptions. Is it true? And of course, you can't prove that it's true, that you will not find your soulmate, that you will not find a person that you're compatible with. I don't care how old you are. People fall in love in, after retirement. There are no age limits to finding a partner. And sometimes people go through several marriages before they find the right person. I can understand why someone who has been through a few divorces might say that to themselves, that they're not going to find that person, because appearances can really be deceiving, and it can be easy to assume that something is a fact because it keeps happening. But I think that once you start changing your thoughts, you release yourself from this prison, because in the other decks, the Eight of Swords really shows somebody who's being held like prisoner. And it's from their own thoughts, because Swords relates to thoughts. So the 4th and 5th cards can talk about who the person is going to be, timing issues and things like that. It's funny, more swords. So the fact that I get swords, maybe this could be an air sign. The air sign that I would see with you specifically would be Libra, Capricorn, because you're both cardinal signs. So there's certain things energetically that make you kind of like resonate with a Libra person. But the other air signs are Gemini and Aquarius. And so we have here, I don't know which one came before the other, but it doesn't matter. This is a 7. This is a great depiction. This is kind of like that sketchy kind of thing. You see how he's like acting so coy. The 7 of Swords is a card that's associated with being on the down low, or somebody that is cheating or stealing from another person. But it can simply mean that you are going it alone for the time being, and it's possible that maybe even if you're like, you kind of have surrendered to your single status, that's when you actually meet somebody, when you're allowing yourself to go alone. Because as I said with that Eight of Pentacles, a lot of times people try to force the universe's hand by wanting something, almost like demanding that they find somebody, instead of just like surrendering to whatever is happening in their life. Because once you surrender, you let go of resistance. Now, in terms of timing, the 7 of Swords could be, let me think. Well, the 7th month is July, so that would not relate to... well, here, this is interesting. Very interesting, actually. So, in the 7th month, that's July, we do have it's a lunar eclipse in Aquarius on July 27th, if I'm not mistaken. So, who knows? Maybe this is the timing issue. And then I have the Son of Swords, which is the Page of Swords. And with pages, we're talking about messages. And with swords, I could see like, the 3rd house, which relates to the internet. It's possible that some of you will connect with somebody electronically, and that's how you meet. Maybe you join a dating service. Maybe you... are on a particular message board and you really hit it off with somebody and you meet them that way. Definitely with these 2 cards, it's a mental thing, it's an intellectual thing, so it could be at any kind of a gathering that involves thinking, like maybe a lecture or... So, yeah, like some kind of an educational workshop or something along those lines. And the outcome is the Sun card. Probably maybe the most positive card in the major arcana. And the Sun card connects to The sun rules the 5th house of romance. So it's love, it's healing, it's success, it's joy, it's children. So it can even be like a childlike joy. I love that you got the Fool card and the Sun card, because to me, these are both major arcana cards that connect with adventure and romance and just approaching life with new eyes, which is so beneficial when you can do that, when you have that ability to not be dragged down by the past. I think that is wonderful. Okay, Capricorn, I hope you enjoyed this. If you'd like a private reading, please click on the link below. My website is rainandmoonastrology.com. Otherwise, have an awesome and memorable February. Bye.